Imagine stepping into the dazzling world of 1980s, 90s New York, where glittering ballrooms serve as a backdrop for narratives of intertwining struggles and triumphs of black trans women. Pose, which ran on FX from 2018 to 2021, centers on the stories of black trans women who live on their own after being kicked out of their homes and how they deal with the HIV/AIDS epidemic, or the human immunodeficiency virus slash acquired immunodeficiency syndrome during the Reagan era. Pose was created by Ryan Murphy, Brad Fulchuk, and Stephen Canals in 2018, a time when the transgender rights movement was gaining steam, with figures like Laverne Cox, who became popular for her role on Orange is the New Black, as there was an increase of transgender people or people identifying as transgender as it became safer, while there was also an increase of anti-trans violence, or at least trans violence that was being reported on. Pose uses the interconnectedness of race, gender, sexuality, and class factors within the transgender community to show their sisterhood through the challenges of the 1980s and 90s that parallel some of today's issues, including the rise of anti-black transgender violence, particularly against black trans women, when the show was released. Like much queer-focused media, there is an emphasis on community and how people with different experiences and backgrounds have come together to create a single community, or a found family. Pose is no different in that aspect. Ballroom is the backdrop for this community. For a lot of people, Ballroom formed after being kicked out from their biological families, and they find people like them, people they can relate to, so they create their own families. And the depiction of the HIV/AIDS epidemic only enhances this. A spectator of someone suffering from HIV/AIDS is nearly always, quote, a marginalized person whose position in society allows them to empathize with the HIV/AIDS sufferer, therefore also making the viewer empathize and start to accept that it is not alien to them and is something that can happen to anyone, which means the viewer can be and is somewhat included to the community of the show. Bollas 115. This sense of community extends to those involved in making the show. One of the executive producers and writers, Janet Mock, is a black trans woman, and a majority of the cast are also black trans women, something that has not been done until 2018 with the release of Pose, and an even earlier release from the same year, My House. Pensis 16. In the Oxford English Dictionary, intersectionality is defined as the interconnected nature of social categorizations such as race, class, and gender, regarded as creating overlapping and independent systems of discrimination or disadvantage, which is certainly at play within Pose. This is best embodied by, arguably, one would say the main character of the show, Blanca Evangelista. Similarly to the actress who plays her, MJ Rodriguez, Blanca is an Afro-Latina trans woman who comes from a poor or working class household, which eventually kicks her out for her gender identity. Many prominent queer leaders in the past and today are black trans women like Blanca. Examples of real-life black queer activists are Marsha P. Johnson, most famous for participating in Stonewall in 1969, and a more recent one, Queen Jean. As one of the most oppressed groups of people in the United States, black trans women feel as if they have no choice but to make their voices heard. There are moments throughout Pose where Blanca can be seen as the leader of many protests, some of which were real, like the Stop the Church protests at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York in 1989, or as the one who convinces her younger peers to come to protest with her. At the start of writing and production for Pose, two black trans women, Dejanay Stanton and Sierra Minaj Carter Frazier, were murdered within 1 month in Chicago. Pensis 16. The violence against Black trans women takes center stage in season 2, episode 4, Never Knew Love Like This Before, when the recurring character, Candy Ferocity, has a funeral. She was killed by someone who she is servicing, as she is a sex worker. Like many Black trans women are seen throughout the show needing to be sex workers because it's the only way that they can make money. It is one of the worst received episodes of the show because this is unfortunately something that is still happening to this day. Black trans women will have sexual relationships with men, and those men may kill them, usually after finding out that these women are trans. In 2019, when this episode came out, 91% of all transgender people killed were Black trans women. These are studies made by the Human Rights Campaign. This report is from 2019. In 2022, out of the 41 transgender people killed, more than half of them were Black trans women, and nearly a quarter were killed by a romantic or intimate partner. This report is also from the Human Rights Campaign, and it's from 2022. At the time Pose takes place, Black queer people were blamed for and at higher risk of HIV/AIDS, partly because the biomedical model favored white cis people. Therefore, quote, the cure for HIV is the extinction of TDG, which stands for transgender and gender diverse communities of color, end quote. So they would not be treated to the extent a white cis person would. The inaction of the US government in the 80s and early 90s contrasts with the modern action of the many anti-trans bills introduced in 2023 alone. Both accomplished similar things, which is the unfortunate increased deaths of trans people. At the beginning of the show, Blanca is shown as having trouble with acquiring hormones, which, as Elektra points out, is why she doesn't pass as well as others, or particularly Elektra herself, partly due to her economic situation. Pose has provided an exploration of intersectionality within the queer community through the compelling narrative of a character like Blanca Evangelista, who has to navigate her intersecting identities of being a Black trans woman, an activist, someone who is HIV positive, and the responsibility of being a mother to a ballroom house. By situating its narratives within the historical context of the 1980s and 1990s, it draws parallels to modern-day challenges. So Pose invites viewers to reflect on the progress made and the work that remains to be done in addressing systemic inequalities, such as ongoing anti-transgender violence targeting Black trans women and healthcare disparities.